How are you, darklings? Good morning, good morning. So today, excuse me, good sir. Silence! This is why I don't go live. So this week, week 2, for the 13 months, 13 keys tag, it is all about exploring our feminine sexuality and sensuality and embracing that and not being ashamed of it. And it isn't only for women, because I feel like men can be shamed for theirs too. We hear it every day. Men only want one thing, etc. So it may be different in the female experience, but I feel like we've all experienced a bit of shame for certain desires. And as long as it doesn't hurt you or anybody else, I say embrace this, which is kind of like a taboo in society. I don't know why everybody seems to have a problem with something so natural and so human, something so passionate. Of course, everything comes with balance, so be safe, be healthy, be balanced in all your practices. But today, I felt like it was appropriate to kind of talk about Lilith and her origins out of certain texts and some symbols in her story that we can find and use to utilize embracing what we want to embrace in our own empowerment. Of course, I know a lot about Lilith, occult-wise. I've worked with her many times. However, this is just going to discuss her story of origins and her story with her counterpart Samael, and we're just going to be taking symbols or symbology from the story so we can use it for our work for week 2 and for our work in this tag this month. Now, I watched an excellent video. It's going to be linked in the description, so please go check it out because I have to give credit where credit's due. And this video had amazing information about Lilith's story, and he tells it way better than me. But it was over on Morgue Official's video, and this isn't really a VR, but kind of I'm paraphrasing a lot of some powerful things I felt like he said and adding my own interpretation to Lilith's origin story and my own 2 cents. But I did get a lot of information from his video as well, and the text he had mentioned of her origin stories I went and I read. So, with that being said, again, go check it out because he's an amazing storyteller and he's got a lot of great information over on his channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. And then at the end of the video, we will talk about how we are going to take these symbols and use them to obtain our keys this month. Lilith, a symbol of feminine power and rebellion. She is an example of how you cannot keep a strong woman contained. From being known as a demon or mother of all abominations, and a killer of women, babies, and now known as an iconic archetype for female empowerment, also known as the first vampire, a succubus. She was misunderstood, and one can blame the patriarch and religion for this. But even before religion, I believe she was demonized personally. I want to go over her story briefly and use the symbology for our own empowerment. This week's title for week 2 is called Being on Top. Starting with the alphabet of Ben Sira, I didn't really take this text seriously when you read it. It's nuts, but it can be useful. We can take any of these and utilize them for our own work. as well as popular known information about Lilith. I feel like we all know her story in one shape, way, or another because she's become quite popular in recent years. However, we are going to be breaking it down today. So God creates a being and divides them into a masculine and feminine form, telling us they were equal. The second story of creation was Adam and Eve's, but we're not going to be really talking about Adam and Eve. In the Ben Sirah, Adam and Lilith were created as equals. However, Adam did not view her or treat Lilith as his equal, wanting to dominate her sexually. His words from the source of the text, "You were built for being below and I for being above." And Lilith argues how they are equal since both were created by the earth. No, Adam wanted domination. Lilith wanted to be his equal. Adam wasn't having it or listening, so Lilith uttered God's name and flew away into the air. Note, the name of God is said to be powerful and hidden, which reminds me of like the Enochian languages and such. This is symbolic. Lilith flying away after uttering the God's hidden name, for claiming her divinity and gaining the ability to fly, claiming her power. Adam knelt and prayed to God about Lilith fleeing. This is symbolic for knowing thyself, knowing one's true power and potential and rising of consciousness. Adam remained as what one could call enslaved to a higher power. Lilith claimed her higher power, her higher consciousness. So God dispatched 3 angels to go after her, after Adam cried like the man-child he is, for her leaving, because he was a douchehole to her. The angels told her she was to return to Adam or accept that 100 of her children would die daily. Note, the angels found Lilith by the sea. Water, it's a very feminine element. There is some information I found, but I don't know how factual it is, that also when they were created, Adam was created from the earth and Lilith from the sea. But we'll leave that open for each to their own. It also alludes to the fact that outside Eden there was more to the realm of earth, contrary to what we were told to believe. So God is threatening her with a curse. She is cursed as a demon and becomes a succubus and a killer of babies. Was this propaganda manipulated through Lilith's curse? Was she victimized by lies with her curse used against her? I speculate that they twisted the fact that her children would die daily into she would be a child killer. It's just a hunch on how the patriarchy could use this to install fear against women who are powerful and demonize them. Anyway, God was horrible to tell her to go back to a husband like that or be cursed. That's like telling an abused woman to go back to their violent husband or else. So in the text, the angels overtook Lilith into the raging waters. They battle and they argue God's orders and threaten to drown her. Lilith replies, "Leave me alone. I was created to sicken babies." Now, I interpret this as her feeling defeated in that moment and accepting the curse of God so that she could be free. What's interesting, again, I found other information contrary to what her statement is in the alphabet of Ben Sirah, but this statement was different. In this version, she said, "Leave me alone. I was created to make babies or create babies." But that's a whole nother story. For her to go against 3 angels in battle and hold her own, she was strong-willed and a powerful being. Perhaps this reply of hers was also misconstrued and used as people to heed her as evil. The rest of her reply was, "If they are boys, I will have power over them until they are 8, and girls until they are 20. You can see how the author of this text continues to demonize her. This was written by a man piecing her story together in his interpretations from other sources, but I can clearly see agenda in the Ben Sirah. It continues with the angels pleading to her to return, but she swore to God if the babies were protected with their amulets, then she would not hurt them. I call bullshit, because how do you go from rebellion to this type of negotiation? It makes no sense. How do you go from wanting what is right morally for herself and claiming a higher consciousness to, oh, I'll harm babies but respect God's protection if your sigils are used, when she completely disregarded what God had told her to do anyway in the Garden of Eden and submit to Adam? While fighting for your respect against the same being, it just doesn't make sense to me. I believe this is how she was demonized by patriarchal authors. Anyway, she became the mother of demons and would remember her oath. In the Zohar, this text was more spiritual and Kabbalistic, taking a more mystical approach to the Bible and the stories within. The Alphabet of Ben Sirah, it is a pretty misogynistic and crazy book, and it's kind of a big joke to me. When I read it, the things in it made me laugh. So I did not take that book seriously, but we can still use the symbology of the story to empower ourselves. But people take all stories seriously, including the Bible, and I love what the Morg said in his channel about taking these stories and using them for symbols of power, because that's exactly what we're doing here today. So in the Zohar, which is my favorite story of Lilith, she finds Samael. He is known as the left hand of God, the venom of God, and the angel of death. Some say Satan, but it is debated if they are the same or separate entities. Lilith became his dark divine counterpart, giving birth to demons, and together they had a passionate, intimate union and shot up into the heavens and became light, reborn in their divinity, the below to the above, or divine polarity. Lilith went on to be so powerful she seduced angels and God himself. Besides these texts or stories, what facts can we know about Lilith's story or origins? That relies on ancient Mesopotamian, Sumerian, and Akkadian tablets. Lilith is far more ancient than Yahweh in the Bible or religion. She belonged to a collective of she-demons they called Lilithu, which means night. These spirits were demonized and blamed for disease, death, destruction, and when men had wet dreams or nightmares. Known for seducing men into sexual debauchery. She was also known as Lamashtu, a demon who kills babies and haunts deserts or rules them. In my opinion, humans have a habit of blaming outside forces for their crappy behavior. As we know in history, female archetypes were blamed and vilified. Some can say a lot has remained the same today, a lot has changed. Right now, in the world, we are so imbalanced in our division among the masculine and feminine, and heated division is forming in our society to point fingers and fight and hate each other. Definitely see more agenda in that as well. It is sad how online the masculine and feminine are at war, and really what we need is union. What we can take from Lilith's story is quite powerful in its own right. When she united with Samael, her power grew, but she united with him and was allowed to express her power equally with him, which empowered both of their energies. Together they were unstoppable. Some say they even ascended into the lighter beings, or that God and Sophia would be the light counterparts of Samael and Lilith. So let's break down our goals of empowerment using the symbols from her story. Number 1, walk away from anything that makes you feel less than, oppressing, or unhealthy. That doesn't come without pain. As we know, Lilith, if her story is true, must have went through great pain having to accept that curse. Taking it and your power and claiming it comes with facing things that we don't always want to face sometimes. Number 2, we have a hidden power and we can claim it at will. As practitioners of the occult or witches, we know this. It is our ultimate goal, usually, in the community to claim our power, to will it, to wield it, and to ascend to a higher consciousness. 3, fight. Always fight for you and think for yourself. Don't go with everything that people just tell you should go with, even if everybody is against you. Until Lilith was united with Samael, she stood on her own against everybody telling her to do the same thing that they deemed as the right thing. She decided for herself what was right and what she wanted. That should be one of our main ultimate goals of Empower, knowing that we do have the power to think for ourselves and say no. 4, you are divine, and harmonizing energies will amplify that, and you can change consciousness at your will. Next is embrace your passion and sexuality. Embrace your desires. It is okay to want things for yourself. And last, always demand your respect and stand your ground. So week 2 is about embracing our sexuality, not being ashamed of it, and the exercise is to go to your partner and express a hidden desire you may not embrace or ask for in the bedroom. Let your inner Lilith, bad bitch self out and empower her. Find power in sexual energy, claim and own it. For the males, go to your lady and encourage her to do this with you. It'll be fun and it will be powerful. We will get more into this later in the week. Thank you so much for joining me, listening, and being with me.